Happy New Year, fish tankers. Are you somebody who makes New Year's resolutions? If so, do you have any New Year's fish keeping resolutions? If you do, comment below and tell me what they are. I'm not a New Year's resolution man, but I could think of a couple of New Year's resolutions that would benefit any fish keeper if he or she follows it. Want to find out what they are? Then stick around and let's chat about it. All the eating and drinking of a festive season got me thinking. We are very careful what we put in our mouth because it has an effect on our health. And then my dog Lulu only gets the best vet food, and there you can see Lulu with her bowls next to a big aquarium having breakfast. But what about the fish? We tend not to think about it in that way, but I'm thinking about an old saying in my statistics studies back when I was a student at the university: rubbish in, rubbish out. What we feed our fish will greatly determine their health, their growth, and their overall conditioning. And the food that you feed them makes a big difference. Now, we've all been in a pinch or in a hurry, ran out of food, went down to the local supermarket and just grabbed some cheap flakes off the shelf in and among the other pet food. But that's not the best food. One needs to look at the labels, and you'll notice there's cereal in the food and all kinds of fillers and things. It doesn't need to break the bank. There's good middle of range food like Tetra is a good mid-range brand, and then Ocean Nutrition is another brand that I like. I especially like their frozen food, and I tend to feed flakes and granules of dried food and then alternate once or twice weekly with some frozen food. And of course there's Hikari, another favorite brand of mine that's also a good middle of a range food. But now Jacques at McMurray, this is not a sponsored video, I'll take his word for it. He's now got Denelay Foods, which is supposed to be the next best thing in fish food and really premium stuff. So I'm going to try that out in the new year and see what kind of a difference it makes. And there you see the fish finally having their breakfast. That's about the only time the clown roaches make an appearance. The rest of the time they're in the plants or sleeping under the filter as they do. But I can tell you from experience that what you feed your fish makes a big difference at the end of the day. Number 2, let's be more safety conscious. Let's put some surge plugs on our electrics leading to the fish tank, because I've heard about a lot of heaters and lights being blown with a load shedding. And let's put a non-return valve in those air lines when you don't have to worry about water back siphoning out of a tank and onto the floor and draining the tank perhaps. And if you have jumpers, like I found out the hard way with the betas, put a lid on the tank. Some killifish or all killifish, also big jumpers, and they can go through the smallest of holes, like I found out with the beta. You can see there I only have a minuscule holes open. Then do a species tank. Now that's a tank dedicated to a single species of fish, like the spotted puffer here. And as you guys know, I've got one tank dedicated to a single species, and that's my pea puffer tank that you see over here. There is a lot to be said for it, because you can fine-tune the conditions to that particular fish. Guys, please smash the like button if you can. And then it doesn't need to be a tank buster or wet pet like this brown puffer. It can be a really tiny fish like the scarlet badders here. They're ideal for a small planted tank right on your desktop. And they're an interesting little fish. They just need live food. And it doesn't have to be anything fancy. Also, it can be something really simple like a tank full of platies. Here's a tank with just platies. It's well planted, and you can see it's a small breeding colony. There's babies there, and you've got a little ecosystem with just platies. So keeping a species tank is something you should consider. If that's just too far a stretch for you, do a biotope. Now, this is a tank where all the plants and the fish originate from the same geographical area. So for example, a South American biotope, you can plant a tank of Amazon swords, just make it full of Amazon swords with some swimming space in between, and then you can put South American species there. Guys, please share the content if you deem it worthy. And I would do a South American tank with some discus, about 6 or 8 of them. Obviously this needs to be a large tank. And then you can fill them out with the classic choices for companions for discus. Some tetras like cardinal tetras and rummy noses. Of course not for harlequin, that's not from South America. But they are great with the discus and they like for high temperatures. And for the bottom you can always go for some stir-by corridoras, they're ideal with discus, and there you have a South American biotope. And if you want something different, you can also go for a Southeast Asian biotope and then plant the tank out with cryptocorini plants like this Cryptolance, and you make a real crypt forest because these plants originate from Southeast Asia. And it can look really different, it can look really nice as you see all these crypts growing. And then you can add a big school, for example, of Espe rasbouras, one of those harlequin species, or the lamb chop rasboura as one sometimes call them, and that'll be a nice Southeast Asian biotope. The start of it, you can also add the scarlet badders there, from the same area, and you can even have a centerpiece fish like a single betta, they're also from the same area, and there you have a Southeast Asian biotope. Remember how you started an hobby? That was me when I first started. And that's my next thing, adopt a young fish keeper. Let's face it, we're not going to live forever. It is important to support the new generation, the younger generation coming in, so that they can help to grow the hobby. And it can be various things that you can use to support them. You can just offer advice so they don't have to make the same mistakes that you and I did. You can maybe give them some plant cuttings, look after the fish when they're on holiday, just feed the fish and do a water change perhaps. And you can even give them some fish when you have extra fish breeding. And it's also a fun activity to take the young fish keeper shopping at all the different aquarium shops. There you see the little Corridora Julii, and there's a baby platy as well. And we have a build video loading, me and young Jack here, about how we did a tank for him from scratch. Well guys, please subscribe if you didn't already. Thank you to everybody who has subscribed during the past year, greatly appreciate it. And that's it from me, and until we see each other again, take good care of those domestic denizens of the deep.